Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti-yoga Goswami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Vishesha Shunyara Prashati Desha Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So we're reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila chapter 8, text 67, and we'll do until 70. 70, let's see, no more. 73 actually. Translation purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Goswami Prabhupada. So this is Bengali, and this is not pronounced as it looks like. As in English, we have this a lot, and in Germany in some cases. So, what you see, this N with the tilde on top, typical in Spanish, but in Bengali it's not pronounced, it's an O. So it's Goshai and Tao. There's actually the N with the dot on top also, it's not pronounced. And then we have, you see the Bada, which is borrow. The D with the dot on below is, in this case, pronounced as an R. Anyway, it's a bad way of transliterating, but it's actually a D, but it has a dot on below, and so they pronounce it as an R. And you have it in Kripavalo Kana Boro, Ami Boro Duki. Boro means a lot or great, so it's not Bada, Boro. And that's basically it about. Yaravacharya Goshai Sri Rupera Sangi
Yadavacharya Gosai Shri Rupera Sangi
Chaitanya Charitete Hoyati Bararangi
Chaitanya Charitete Hoyati Bararangi.
And of course the A that doesn't have a line is all like an O. So it's not A. What to do? So it's, more or less. I mean, we'll try. There's no Bengali here, so nobody will laugh. Yadavacharya Goshai Sri Rupera Sangi
Yadavacharya Gosai Shri Rupera Sangi
Chaitanya Charitete Hoyati Bararangi
Chaitanya Charitete Hoyati Bararangi
Yadavacharya Goshai Sri Rupera Sangi
Yadavacharya Gosai Shri Rupera Sangi
Chaitanya Charitete Hoyati Bararangi
Chaitanya Charitete Hoyati Bararangi
Yadavacharya
Yadavacharya
of the name Yadavacharya Gosai spiritual master
Spiritual Master
Sri Rupera of Srila Rupa Goswami
Srila Rupa Goswami
Sangi associate Chaitanya Charite
Chaitanya Charite
in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya
in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya
Teho He Bhakti very much Boro great Rangi,
Rangi,
enthusiastic. Sri Yadavacharya Gosai, a constant associate of Srila Rupa Goswami, was also very enthusiastic in hearing and chanting about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Oh, this chapter we don't see here in the book. The title, normally we do this, we put it on top so we always remember what it is called. The chapter is called, it doesn't have a title here. What is that possible? Yeah. Well, it's probably also at the end. It's the author receiving the orders of the authorities, Krishna and Guru. So this is Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami himself, who is writing Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he tells how he was authorized, how he received orders from Krishna and from Guru to actually undertake this task of compiling, of writing Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, what he has done in this chapter so far, let's see. He's speaking about also Vrindavan Das Thakur, who has composed Chaitanya Mangala. And then we have, of course, also Chaitanya Bhagavat, which is actually this Chaitanya Mangala. And then we have Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he is speaking about different associates of the Lord. The next verse, there's no purport in these verses. Bhugarva Gosai, a disciple of Pandit Gosai, was always also engaged in topics regarding Lord Chaitanya, knowing nothing else. And among his disciples were Chaitanya Das, who was a priest of the Govinda deity, as well as Mukundananda Chakravarti and the great devotee Krsnadas. Among the disciples of Ananta Acharya was Shivananda Chakravarti, in whose heart dwelt constantly Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. In Vrindavan there were also many other great devotees, all of whom desired to hear the last pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. By their mercy, all these devotees ordered me to write of the last pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because of their order only, although I am shameless, I have attempted to write this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Purport. To write about the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not an ordinary endeavor. Unless one is empowered by the higher authorities or advanced devotees, one cannot write transcendental literature, for all such literature must be above suspicion, or in other words, it must have none of the defects of conditioned souls, namely mistakes, illusions, cheating, and imperfect sense perceptions. The words of Krishna and the disciplic succession that carries the orders of Krishna are actually authoritative. To be empowered to write transcendental literature is a privilege in which a writer can take great pride. As a humble Vaishnava, Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami, being thus empowered, felt very much ashamed that it was he who was to narrate the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we'll take the next verse and purport because they go together with the same subject matter. Having received the order of the Vaishnavas, but being anxious within my heart, I went to the temple of Madan Mohan in Vrindavan to ask the deity's permission also. Report. A Vaishnava always follows the order of Guru and Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita was written by Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami by their mercy. Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami considered all the devotees that have been mentioned to be his preceptor gurus or spiritual masters, and Madan Gopal, Sri Madan Mohan Vigraha, is Krishna himself. Thus he took permission from both of them, and when he received the mercy of both Guru and Krishna, he was able to write this great literature, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This example should be followed. Anyone who attempts to write about Krishna must first take permission from the spiritual master and Krishna. Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, and the spiritual master is his direct external representative. Thus Krishna is situated antarbahi, within and without. One must first become a pure devotee by following the strict regulative principles and chanting 16 rounds daily. And when one thinks that he is actually on the Vaishnava platform, he must then take permission from the spiritual master, and that permission must also be confirmed by Krishna from within his heart. Then, if one is very sincere and pure, he can write transcendental literature, either prose or poetry. And in the next chapter, we will have another purport verse about the same subject matter. There he says, "It is by the mercy of all these Vaishnava and Gurus that I attempt to write about the pastimes and qualities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whether I know or know not, it is for self-purification that I write this book." Purport. This is the sum and substance of transcendental writing. One must be an authorized Vaishnava, humble and pure. One should write transcendental literature to purify oneself, not for credit. By writing about the pastimes of the Lord, one associates with the Lord directly. One should not ambitiously think, "I shall become a great author. I shall be celebrated as a writer." These are material desires. One should attempt to write for self-purification. It may be published or it may not be published, but that does not matter. If one actually is sincere in writing, all his ambitions will be fulfilled. Whether one is known as a great author is incidental. One should not attempt to write transcendental literature for material name and fame. Let's see. We are okay. Amagyanatinirandasya Gyanandana Shalakaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kalamayam Nadati Swadanantikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinavandho Jagatpate Gopesham Gopika Kantara Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gauravani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripriye Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravani Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is an important principle to, especially if one undertakes a important task, like obviously writing about the pastimes of the Lord. Is not ordinary writing like a novel or something. And a devotee who has this desire or he feels the inclination to do that, it's always best if one can receive the authorization and the blessings of superior authority. Because the tendency may be, it's not a pure desire, like Prabhupada mentions in this last purport, that one may think, or there may be, some desire that one wants to be recognized as a great, celebrated writer or great author. And then if that happens, it's incidental. But one should not attempt to write, especially transcendental literature, for material name and fame. It's like trying to use Krishna for one's own purposes, which is always, like you can say, condemned. Prabhupada always uses that term, order carrier, or make Krishna the fulfiller of your desires. Like when we call somebody to order something, and then they send it to you, or they bring it personally. So if we go to Krishna with that kind of mentality, no, it's not. That's not the right approach. It's the other way around. Whatever Krishna desires, we should be able, or we should be ready to fulfill that, even if it sometimes apparently may not coincide with our own plans or desires, which also happens. So this is a good example of Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami taking this position. In this verse we read in the beginning, he actually says that although I am ashamed, I'm shameless, which is, yes, could say surprising. One feels like that, but he does feel like that. Which means I don't feel qualified. Let's see the Bengali. Nirlaja, without shame. One should be, if one, like in this case, he feels, the devotees asked me to write about Lord Chaitanya. And he's hesitant, because he feels that, who am I to write? I'm not really qualified. And if I do write, that means I'm shameless. So that's the best position to take. And then one puts himself at the mercy of the Lord and the Vaishnavas, taking their permission, and then he tries his best. And there's some other part, because he was already very, very old actually, and I don't know exactly where it is stated, we could find it out in database, that he said, I can hardly hold my pen. There was no, desktop publishing. I had to write by hand, not even dictating as Prabhupada used to do. So he had to hold himself a hand. He even didn't have a secretary like Vyasadeva had Ganesh, right, to write, because it was a lot of writing. So he had to do it by himself. So he was so old he could hardly see, and he could hardly hold a pen. And he said, so I don't know how, but somehow I'm writing. So yes, it's the Lord uses the devotee as an instrument, and then that devotee can do things that are extraordinary. Actually, Prabhupada, as far as we know, he sometimes was reading his own books. And one may wonder, why is an author reading his own book? And when I think somebody asked him, why are you reading like Krishna book or something like that? Because I don't even actually wrote these books. Krishna wrote these books. So one feels like, even if I move my hand by writing, it's directed by the Supreme Lord. And the devotee can feel practically in any activity, if can feel like this, that it's Krishna in the heart who is directing. And it's a fact, even for ordinary material activities. Prabhupada mentioned recently in the class that even scientists or people like that, when they discover something or they do something extraordinary, invent some machine or solve some problem, like a mathematical problem, where does this knowledge come from? Ultimately it comes from Krishna, which is called, or you can call it also inspiration. The so-called inspiration, what is that? Well, even the word itself, it actually means in spirit. Some spirit is, you're becoming inspired. It's on a subtle level, suddenly you get, yes, something happens. You don't even, that's the point of inspiration, you don't even know how. Like one of the most famous, there's actually two examples. This, it's Mozart and mathematician Poincaré. Sariputta Prabhu, he speaks about this when he speaks about the origins, and like people think everything's material. And when these inspirational things happen, they don't have an explanation. So let's start with the less known one, Poincaré. He had a mathematical problem. I mean, mathematicians do this. They invent problems which, for us, don't even exist. They're so mental. So they go beyond 2 and 2 plus 4. They think about things that, what for? What is this for? And what's the use of it? Practically, there's normally no use. It's just a mental exercise. So he had a problem. And he was thinking about it for days and weeks and couldn't find the solution. There are other, I think, some mathematical problems that have been there for hundreds of years and nobody was able to solve it. And just recently, as somebody came up with a solution, now is celebrated, of course, as incredible, clever and intelligent person who found the solution. So how did he get this? So this Poincaré was in that position. And then it happened that one day he was just taking a walk. He had already forgotten about the problem. It was too difficult to solve. So then he took a walk and he was riding on a tram, and then suddenly it popped into his mind, the solution of the whole thing. Not just step by step. The whole solution was there. And he was, startled. He was surprised. He couldn't understand how this is possible. Where is it coming from? Because he hadn't been thinking about it. No, you think, generally we think materialistic, especially materialistic outlook is, if something gets done, it's because of me. I do it. If I don't do it, it doesn't get done, right? And it's maybe true in many cases. If you don't take the broom and you clean the floor, it remains dirty. So who is the cause of the cleanliness? It's me, because I do the job. And so he couldn't understand how this just entered his mind, from where, if he hadn't thought about it. So that this was really, he was puzzled. And he was coming to a certain idea, conclusion that there must be something else, some higher, whatever it may be. That's the point. They don't speak about God. He's an atheist. So, but there's something which gave that knowledge. And he was then speculating, called it some super self or something like that. And as Sariputta Prabhu says, and properly it's in the history records of this person, he hated the idea. He didn't like the idea that there was something beyond himself. So finally he rejected it and he had some other explanation. But actually, yes, where did it come from? From the super soul, we know that. Yeah. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, remembrance, forgetfulness, and not everything comes from me. And we know this. Sometimes we know something for sure, like the verse, we have quoted it hundreds of times, and then suddenly when we want to quote it, we don't remember. It hasn't happened. Of course it has happened. Or something else which is so clear, we know it. And then we wonder, I don't remember. So it's not really up to us. If Krishna takes away the memory, what to do? And the other famous example is Mozart, and he recognized that there must be some higher power, God. He has this phenomena that a whole symphony entered his mind. And not as it is, he explained it, and those who know a little bit about music. A symphony is composed of different voices of instruments who do different things. They don't do all the same thing. The violin maybe do some melody, the piano may do another melody, then the trumpets do another thing. So it's an orchestra. And there may be depending on how complex it's symphony, they're sounding together. You may have like 10, 15, 20 different voices, and the art of the great composer like Mozart or others is, although they have all their different voices, they all sound together as a wonderful combination of sound. So in his mind, he heard the whole thing. Normally you would go, if you write a song, a songwriter, you start with the words, then you put the bass line, and then you put the drums, and then you put the guitar, and then you put maybe this, and so step by step then you figure out how it may sound together. It wasn't like that. For him, the whole thing entered, and it was playing in his mind, and he had a hard time because he could hear and then write it down. Who can do this nowadays? Not me, for sure. You have to be trained to do that. I mean, if you're really trained, you could probably do that. But he had a hard time to keep track because it was so many things were going on. And then, not only that, before he finished, there was another symphony coming. So now what to do? We have one symphony here and one symphony there, and know which one. Right? So he had a hard time to actually write this down. So he recognized, he said, I don't know where this is coming from. And because, in those days still there was more pious, he could understand that it must come from the Supreme in some way or another. So the devotee, yes, in any endeavor, he can feel like that. Like here, Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he feels, so who am I to do this? But if the Lord wants, if the devotees want, I will try. And if by their help and by the mercy of the Lord, then anything is possible. There's these verses he puts, I mean, it's in the Adi Lila, isn't it? This, by the mercy of the Lord Chaitanya, one can climb mountain, a lame man can climb a mountain, right? I think it's maybe in the 8th chapter, maybe the 8th chapter. Let's see. One of those chapters. And one part of that verse is that a dumb person can recite poetry or something like that.
You can come across the mountain.
Yeah, but it's not chapter 8, maybe it's chapter 9. It's definitely in one of those chapters here. But we have to find out. Well, many of these verses, in the beginning verses, you may remember. Let's remember. It talks about by the mercy of the Lord, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Like here, a dog can swim across the ocean, which is basically impossible. A dog cannot even swim, 50 meters. They go 2-3 meters, then they come back. Immediately go on the shore and go like this, and that was it. They don't swim for a long time. What to speak of crossing the ocean? So, Prabhupada says that in the purport. A dog can swim for a few yards and then come back to the shore. So that's the experience. And in the 8th chapter, he says, although I'm a fool, I've suddenly taken to the writing of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that's Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He speaks about himself and describes himself as Jada, like we have Jada Bharat, right? So a Jada is like a dull person, not very bright. So he feels like that. And of course, such a person, how can he write? He cannot even write ordinary things, what to speak of, poetic verses like we have in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, the devotee, he can recognize this quite easily, that whatever we are able to do, then where does our qualification come from? Actually, in German we have this word Gabe, begabt. Gabe is like a gift, or gifted. In English they have the same expression actually. Somebody is gifted. That means he has received a gift, which means you recognize it's not coming from me, from some higher place. I got this talent to write or to play an instrument or to paint, whatever one is able to do. And one knows it's not by my prowess or by I'm not really the origin. If one is materialistic, then one thinks like that. I worked on it, and so or other, I have it. How it came, nobody knows, but that doesn't matter. So that one doesn't really recognize that it's a gift. So if one has that attitude, then first of all, as Prabhupada explains in these purports, that the devotee he should be humble and pure if he is qualified to write about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Because it's not ordinary literature. There must be above suspicion, there cannot be any of the mistakes that generally creep in, like imperfect understanding about pastimes of the Lord are transcendental. If one is not sufficiently advanced in devotional life, then one may even, here's a purport that Prabhupada talks about that. There are many fools who consider like Krishna Lila to be a subject of art and write or paint pictures about the pastimes of the Lord. But because they're not pure and humble Vaishnavas, they don't have that qualification, then their depiction, whether it's in writing or in painting, is like off, we say. It's not depicting things as they are. This is in the next chapter, where Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami, as he does at the end of each chapter, he is submitting himself to the lotus feet of the six Goswamis, Rupa Raghunath, right? So here he says, I remember these six Goswamis, and Prabhupada says, this is the process for writing transcendental literature. A sentimentalist who has no Vaishnava qualification cannot produce transcendental writing. He's a sentimental, he has his own conceptions. So then, yes, many fools who attempt that, and when they do this, they paint pictures about the pastimes of the Lord and Krishna and the gopis, sometimes they depict them in a manner that's practically obscene, because they have a material conception. They don't exactly understand what's going on when Krishna dances with the gopis. So these fools, they take pleasure in material sense gratification, but one who wants to make advancement in spiritual life must scrupulously avoid their literature or the paintings they produce. And one can even say, if they sing, because that's nowadays becoming very prominent. We have these gatherings of so-called yogis all over the planet. Very soon there will be another Bhakti Fest somewhere in America, where all these Mayavadis get together. And they're probably, generally they all sing, but they may even speak about Bhava and Krishna and this and that. And it's all material. There's nothing spiritual about it. It's very dangerous, actually, and that Prabhupada also explains. One may argue, but they're speaking about Krishna, what's wrong with it? But we have this verse from Sanatana Goswami who says, no, you shouldn't hear from them whatever comes out of their mouth, even if it's Krishna's name or Krishna's pastimes, because it's like, these are like milk, very beautiful, very nutritious, but there's one little ingredient they add, and that's the drop of poison. The Mayavadi conception. So then if you hear that, you become contaminated. You may even not notice it. So here professional reciters, that's one side, or the professional singers who have no Krishna consciousness, it's very dangerous to come in contact with them. So here is Prabhupada says one must scrupulously avoid them. Unless one is a servant of Krishna and the Vaishnavas, as Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami presents himself to be in offering respects to Lord Chaitanya, one should not attempt to write transcendental literature or even to sing about the Lord. And of course, these people, it's very obvious because they don't only sing about Krishna. They put everything, that's typical Mayavadi. They sing about Durga and about Ganesh and about Shiva and whoever, whatever. It's all the same. What's the problem? It's all the same anyway. They're all just temporary manifestations of Brahman. That's their philosophy. Whether it's Krishna or Rama or Ganesh or Durga or Shiva or whatever, it's all ultimately illusion, but we use it to make spiritual progress until we come to the impersonal realization, and then we don't need any. And no more words, no more singing, no more nothing. It's all just floating in oneness somewhere. That's their idea. So that we should avoid, and following the footsteps of somebody like Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who feels himself unqualified. He takes permission from the Vaishnavas, from the Lord, and then he attempts to write. And as we can see, of course, in his case and in any other case, and in one sense, Srila Prabhupada speaks about himself when he says, one should have the authority or the authorization of higher authorities before attempting to write, that what comes out as a result is always wonderful. That's no doubt about it. Chaitanya Charitamrita is wonderful. Srila Prabhupada's books, his purports are wonderful. And one can feel that they put themselves completely at the mercy of the Lord. And then the Lord, he acts through such devotees. As Prabhupada says, I didn't write really these books. One feels, yes, I'm just moving my hand, and even if things come through me, and one may feel, I think about it and how to do it, but still all that is ultimately controlled by the Lord. We're not independent. So, and especially in Srila Prabhupada's case, we know that when he composed his purports, he had the different commentaries of the previous acharyas on his desk, and he was consulting them and, as he said, summarizing them for us so we can understand in our language, maybe taking 4 or 5 and seeing the different to that particular verse and then putting it together in a condensed purport. Even the Nectar of Devotion is called a summary study. It's not just the translation of the original book. It comes together with an explanation, with the realization of the author. And we can see that, and Prabhupada has been criticized for those who don't understand. We can see this in some of the translations of Srila Prabhupada's when he translates verses. If you would go just word by word, the verses, the translation is so long, and there's so many things in it, but that's not there. Why does he say that? Yeah, some have criticized. They say, but this is not in the original Sanskrit. So why is it in the translation? No, because he knows what it means, and it's for the right understanding. It's in there. It's not like, you could say, a wrong translation or something like that. So, devotee who is completely at the mercy of the Lord, he will just be an instrument, and then whatever result is there, it's always for the benefit of whoever comes in contact with it by hearing and by reading. As it was explained in these verses which we read that don't have purports, all these devotees, they were very much enthusiastic about hearing and chanting about the pastimes, because these stories that were going around by the associates who had been with the Lord, some had taken notes. We know that. Murari Gupta had taken notes, Swami Damodar had taken notes, and then those who had been there, it's like, we have Prabhupada stories. We can speak about, I remember this and that. Like this morning, Maharaj will remember where Prabhupada said that in Stockholm. We were in that program. You remember why he said that? About the, even if you drink wine, what happened? You remember what happened? There was a public program, and there were 2 drunkards in the audience. And Prabhupada saw them. Sweden, they like to drink, So it's more obvious that they were drunk. And then he said that even if you are a drunkard, but if you appreciate, oh, this taste of wine is Krishna, you become a yogi. How is that possible? Even if you don't know this anymore, why does he say that? What is that? What is this? So I can drink wine and become a yogi? So yeah, I mean anything, any liquid, when Krishna says, Rasoham apsukante, it's not just water. That's Prabhupada's explanation. We may think, but Krishna says water. Why do you say wine, or why do you say orange juice, or whatever, mango juice, or whatever juice? Grape juice, how can? No, it's water. No, it means any liquid, obviously. If you appreciate, oh, this grape juice is fantastic, and this is Krishna's creation, and he put the taste in there. Otherwise, where's the taste coming from? That's Krishna consciousness, not just water. So even wine, if somebody has that habit, but he appreciates that, oh yeah, this is the Lord, thank you for this wonderful bottle of wine. You're in Maya, that's true, but somehow or other you appreciate Krishna, and that's the first step. It's called Shraddha. Some little appreciation. Then Krishna notices that. He will give you another chance. Then the devotee may come to you and say, well, yeah, this wine is very nice, but you know where wine is coming from, right? From grapes. Why do you have that fermented? Please try this fresh grape juice and you will see it's even better than the wine. It's the same grapes, just see the difference. And then maybe, oh yeah, you're right. And then, he gives up drinking wine. Who knows? But Krishna can make his arrangements so that such a person who has taken the first step of a little appreciation, he gradually actually becomes Krishna conscious. He becomes the greatest yogi, not just a yogi, the greatest yogi. Yogi namapi sarveshna. Okay, so I think already the church bells are sounding. It's time to wrap up. Any questions, comments on this? No? Yes? No? No? Can go to church.
Maharaj, one question. You mentioned about that we have to please Krishna, not Krishna has to please us. So how do I understand that am I using Krishna or is Krishna using me? How do you understand that?
Depends. You may want to use Krishna. That's what we shouldn't do. Everybody tries to use Krishna in one way or another because there's nothing different from him. So if we use it's same with his energy, that's generally what the living entities do in the material world. Yayetam dagatem jagat. They take the material energy and they use it for their purpose. Right? That's the problem. So nirmanna Krishna sambandhe. Then if one comes to the point of renunciation, it doesn't mean, I don't want to have to do anything with anything. It's typical Mayavadi, rejection of material things because I become entangled by using them. No, we should understand it's all Krishna's energy, it comes from him, and it should be used in his service. And that includes myself. I'm also Krishna's energy. Right? We have Shakti, Tatastha Shakti. So that's the philosophy. It's all Krishna's. There's nothing different, nothing separate from him. So then who does it belong to? Ishvara Savidam Sarvam, everything in the universe. And that includes us. Our mind, our body, our soul. If we say our soul still, I am soul. So, it's all Krishna's energy. It's all from him. It's all his. And the only true use is to put it into his service. That's what it's meant for. Otherwise, what is it meant for? Why is there any creation at all? Good question. They do this nowadays. They ask, why is there anything instead of nothing? There could be nothing, right? But there's something. Why is there something instead of nothing? These are philosophers. They ask these type of questions. So what would you answer if somebody said, why there's anything at all? Why? Because it could be nothing.
Activity is the nature of soul.
Huh?
Because activity is the nature of soul.
It has nothing to do with it. Think about the question. Why is there anything, the creation at all? Why does it exist instead of nothing? There could be nothing.
Because there is a creator and he is an animate person.
Well, that's yes, but the why question is why does it exist? What's the purpose? Not because what's the cause? We don't ask what is the cause. We ask why does something exist at all?
Read Bhagavad Gita, you fool, and you know.
But if you get this question, what is an answer?
We have a special offer for Bhagavad Gita.
Why do we create anything? Like, let's say somebody's a creator. You're a creative person, right?
To enjoy.
That's right! Thank you! That's the exact answer. To enjoy. Anandamaya Upyasa. Everything is meant for enjoyment. Whose enjoyment? Why does Krishna create anything at all? He doesn't have to. It's just for his enjoyment, that's all. Like Prabhupada says, like a man, husband and wife, they create children. What for? They want to enjoy them. That doesn't work out many times. That's another thing. That's the material world. Just becomes the opposite. They become the source of suffering. But the original purpose is to enjoy. Therefore, when finally the lady becomes pregnant, they celebrate. They don't even know what's going to come out. Maybe a serial shooter. Right? Nowadays, that's possible. And it has happened. You know, one young person, like in America especially, in Cologne, not yet, you know, they just take out their pump gun and then 20 dead. So he has a father and a mother. And in one of these cases, the father said, I wish he would never have been born. Obviously, now you have a son who is a serial killer. Better he wouldn't have been born. But when he came out, when the birth was celebration. Oh, we now finally, you know, we have a son. You don't even know what this son will be. But generally that's the idea. We create children, or whatever we create. We build a house, or we do whatever, we cook. When we create, we're very creative for enjoyment. That's the whole purpose. And Krishna creates everything. What for? For his enjoyment. And then we can say, no, I want to enjoy. Okay, you can try. And then we end up here. And then when the Vaishnava comes, the Vaishnava philosophy is, no, stop it. This is not the way. You try to enjoy, but actually you're suffering, right? You recognize that? If you're a fool, you know, the fool, then they think, no, let me alone, I'm enjoying it. They don't, you know, they just blend out the suffering. They are suffering. And some are so foolish, they think the suffering is enjoyment. That you get nowadays. People actually, they're so crazy. They actually go to places where they are suffering and they think this is enjoyment. But generally, we just want to enjoy, we don't want suffering, but the material world is not like that. So, you know, therefore, we are told by the acharyas, by Krishna himself, this is not the place. You want to enjoy, that's good. It's your birthright. I also want to enjoy, so let's enjoy together. So you come to me, don't stay here. That's the whole message, basically. But that's the whole purpose of anything. It's just meant for enjoyment. So, what was the question? Do you remember the question? I forgot already.
Am I enjoying Krishna? Is Krishna enjoying?
That's right. So, yes, Krishna is the enjoyer, and you will enjoy, and you can enjoy, if you dovetail yourself with Krishna's enjoyment. You give him enjoyment, you will enjoy. That's a very tricky thing. Yeah, it's actually like that. The more you give enjoyment to Krishna, the more you will enjoy. But the devotee will not do that with this mentality. That's again the wrong mentality that, oh yes, I will give Krishna enjoyment, and then I will enjoy it. The gopis don't think like that. Nobody in Krishna Lila thinks like that. But even they don't want to, they will get the enjoyment. That's the paradox. Right? Like this, what is it, Daruka? With a fan. He was fanning, or the Chamara, Krishna. And because of ecstasy, he becomes stunned. And he hated that because then he couldn't fan Krishna. Although, if we have the wrong mentality, we think, oh great, finally I'm getting stunned, I'm in ecstasy. And you don't care whether you're offending Krishna or not. No, that's personal enjoyment without, you don't think about Krishna. But if it's only Krishna, then you don't like, or you don't even like to blink, because then you cannot see Krishna. Or if tears would come, let's say, another symptom of ecstasy, you don't like this because it hampers your vision of the Lord. Anyway, so it's the Krishna mentality. Krishna, yes, you want to enjoy, Krishna wants to, but you dovetail with Krishna's enjoyment. You don't make Krishna participating in your enjoyment, which sometimes people, that's the Hachyas. They think we do Krishna Lila and then, Krishna will enjoy when I enjoy. It's not like that. That's the wrong mentality. So, now we are practically done with our time. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Shri Gaurita Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.